Batman Superman World's Finest is a comic book series out right now that you guys can actually go pick up from your LCS or your local comic shop. It is written by Mark Waid and illustrated by Dan Mora. Let me just tell you, this is probably one of my favorite things DC has done in a while, maybe since Rebirth, DC Rebirth, when they were doing their Superman title with Peter J. Tomasi, and when they were doing the Green Lantern series, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. Batman Superman World's Finest reminds me of either a Rebirth era or even like kind of 80s, 90s era of comic books. The dialogue in this book is fantastic. Now, say what you will about Mark Waid. I personally have not followed him on social media, nor do I really know the inner workings of what happened between him and Richard Meyer. So for me, I don't really know that kind of aspect or that side of him. So I'm coming to this just knowing him strictly as a creator. And in that sense, I love what he's doing in this work, and I've loved his previous work too. And it just shows that he knows these characters inside and out. He is extremely well-versed on just writing DC superheroes in general. He understands their tone, he understands their dialogue, and each person, each character within this book has their own unique voice. And speaking of unique, Dan Mora's art in this is uniquely perfect to this book. I've also seen Dan Mora do, he was on Klaus, which is one of my favorite series and books of all time. It was a short series that they started doing during the Christmas time, during the holidays, where they introduced this kind of Nordic saga of Santa Claus. And that's what Dan Mora was doing for a while. That's where I was introduced to his art. And he's been doing plenty of projects since then, but it reminds me of that kind of Dan Mora, but this is his finest work, no pun intended, with World's Finest, as he draws Superman and Batman to a T, like what I would perfectly imagine them encapsulated in ice. If I could preserve them, this is what I would imagine them looking like. And Dan Mora has their likenesses just perfectly drawn, and everything is drawn with care and passion and love. So Dan really makes this book stand out more than anything. So let's actually take a look here and see what I'm talking about when we actually get into the art and the story of this book. As of making this video, World's Finest is on issue number 8. It is October of 2022. But like I said, you guys can go into your local comic book shop right now and go pick up these back issues, and could probably find the trade as well. But issue number 8, and they are still firing on all cylinders. But let's go ahead and take a look at issue 1 here. The first thing you'll notice is we start out with a ton of action already. We get introduced to our two main protagonists, our two heroes here, almost immediately. And what we see is Poison Ivy is in Metropolis, and we get Lois Lane. We also see Jimmy Olsen. So we're introduced to all of these different great characters. And let me just say, Poison Ivy is drawn beautifully here. I love her figure, and it is kind of odd to see her, though, in Metropolis, which is what both Batman and Superman agree. They go, what the heck is she doing here? This is your turf. And Batman says that he has actually followed her from Gotham into Metropolis. I also like this little panel up here, and it's Lois saying, has anyone seen Clark Kent? And it's just this wisp of color of blue and red just flying through the air. You can't even see him. But the other thing I really love in this is that Poison Ivy is seen as a villain in this book. She's not misunderstood or anything. She is just a straight up villain, which I appreciate. They don't pull their punches. They just go right into it. So she's written perfectly. She's drawn beautifully. And like I said, I love the depiction that Dan Mora has of Batman and Superman. I mean, come on. Look at the size of that bicep on Superman. And he's in the classic pose. He's saving a child from harm's way. Love it. So then like I said, we're not even, I think this is 4 pages in at this point, and we now have Metallo in the mix, who is enhanced by kryptonite. So Batman sees this and tells Superman, you got to get the hell out of here. And so Superman and Batman see the danger here. And so before they can react, though, Metallo already has Superman down and within his grasp. And then Poison Ivy gets her kind of vines and her trees and her roots to grab Batman and Robin to take them out of the picture. So right away, stakes. We've seen a ton of action. We've been introduced to our characters, but we also know that there's something fishy going on. Why are Metallo and Poison Ivy working together in Metropolis? This seems a little odd. So then we get this great monologue by Metallo, and I think this just really speaks to the writing that Mark Waid brings here. But he talks about how he now has red kryptonite, not necessarily green kryptonite. But Metallo says, my humanity has been taken, Superman. I am without tenderness, without kindness, without warmth. I can no longer love, nor want, nor care. So this dude is evil. He does not give a shit about anything. He says, I'd love to use green kryptonite for this next part, but I'm too greedy. I need you to live. Red kryptonite, however, random, unpredictable, each piece different, morphing, mangling, twisting your body uniquely. Now imagine a dozen pieces blended into a radioactive cocktail. And he thrusts this needle full of red kryptonite into Superman's chest. Look at this artwork. The inking and the cross-hatching on the cape, the facial expression alone. I love this panel right here. It just shows Superman in such pain, which is hard to look at. It's hard to watch, but it's so beautifully drawn. Same thing down here when Robin actually takes out Metallo. Like the movement, the kinetic movement within these panels is amazing. I'm really digging Dan Mora's art, and it works perfectly for this series. Also, Batman kicking the hell out of Poison Ivy, getting her out of the loop. And then we see Superman really under some pain now. He's really struggling. And at the bottom, we see a strange figure who says, now the fun begins. They have no idea what's in store. And this is supposedly, now I've read up to issue 8, so I know who this is, but for you guys, you don't know who this is, and it's quite the surprise. But then we get a flashback to when kind of earlier years of Superman and Batman. And Superman is in Metropolis, where Batman is in Gotham. And they have found the Penguin in this kind of warehouse, and he's captured Robin. And Penguin is talking about how he has this now group of kind of minions down here that are from the anti-universe of Q-Ward, and how they're like harnessing this weapon of lightning. And so Batman sees this, and he recognizes that he recognizes this isn't going to be easy for him to take on these almost like anti-universe godlike creatures. So he calls in Superman to pretend that he's Batman. So down here, Superman says, "Are you looking for me, Penguin?" And Penguin zaps the hell out of him, realizing that it's Superman. And he goes, "It tickles. Did that buy you the time you needed?" Batman says it did, as he rescues Robin the Boy Wonder. Like I said, I am digging this artwork by Dan Mora. The physique of Superman is near perfect. It is perfection. Like, it's not too bulky and crazy and bodybuilder-like, but it's not too lean or skinny. It is like the perfect embodiment and envisionment of like what I could think of Superman at his prime. Got the red trunks on, has this long, huge red flowing cape, the high boots. It's great. And he's got the old classic smile and the curl in the hair. It's perfect, man. So then they take out Penguin. Superman says, as for you, you can wait, and just takes out those kind of anti-universe minions. And they're all kind of doing their part and taking out Penguin one at a time. And another great shot of Superman here, just kind of a simple, like, side profile shot. But Dan's art in this is, once again, fantastic. Fachoom. Huge, like, big, bold lettering. You can really feel the weight of Superman's punch. And then I love this, too. They actually use Superman's ice breath. Not a lot of comics do that. And he just goes, stay. And even the little bubble here says stay, and it's like freezing, and it's freezing off. So this is another great interaction between Batman and Superman. And like I said, it's one of their first interactions. It's younger them. And Superman says, you okay? Batman goes, I'm fine. And thank you, Superman. I realize we don't know one another all that well, but you really had my back today. And Soup says, it was my honor. You do the same for me, right? Always. And they shake hands. Just classic dialogue. Exactly what you would picture or imagine from reading Batman and Superman together, working together. So now we're back to the present. It says, and now. And we have Superman still in excruciating pain from the red kryptonite. And what we're seeing now is Superman is starting to change. His atoms and his actually, like, what he's composed of is actually changing at this point. The red kryptonite is coursing through his veins, and Batman and Robin are trying to figure out a way of saving him. Do we need to call the police to try and capture Ivy? Do we need to call in a certain doctor to save Superman? They're trying to make all these different plans, and sure enough, Superman is trying to run away so that he's not hurting anyone. So he keeps trying to bound away from the action so that he can get away. And he finds Jimmy, and Jimmy says, I can't stand here. Can you at least call Supergirl? And he says, no, I can't risk infecting her too. And as he says that, he starts to turn into literally the Man of Steel. Because of this, we're then introduced to the Doom Patrol. We are like past midway in this comic book right now, and so much has happened. We're introduced to the Doom Patrol, we're introduced to villains, we see our two classic heroes battling this like new red kryptonite variant, we see them in their element, we've seen flashbacks, so much has happened, and we're still not, we're just maybe a little bit halfway through the book. So it really just goes to show how great of a storyteller Mark Waid is with this particular series. So the Doom Patrol shows up because they believe that they can help Superman with this red kryptonite, and that the doctor that they work for, I believe it's Niles Calder, specializes in bizarre transformations, and these are some of his patients, which are the Doom Patrol. But then, right as they start to pick up Superman to save him, he starts seeing hallucinations of Zod and all of the villains from the Phantom Zone. So again, look at this artwork from Dan Mora. The striations in his deltoid, the bicep and tricep that he creates, all the different muscle tones, the facial expression that he has, the Fathoom, the large crackling sound effects that are in this book are fantastic. So he starts fighting off the Doom Patrol, thinking that they are people from or villains from the Phantom Zone, but they are just inner fascinations of his mind, bringing up these things that have been brought on by the red kryptonite. So he finally sees Batman, and Batman comes out and looking like Lex Luthor. So Superman is under the impression that Batman is Lex Luthor. He's having these weird hallucinations from the red kryptonite, and so Batman has to bring him back to life, essentially. He has to bring him back with some deep-rooted information that can take him out of this big trance. And so this, again, we see a fantastic interchange of dialogue between Superman and Batman. And Batman says, no tricks, think. Does Luthor know your real name? No, but Bruce Wayne does. I'm one of the few people that have trusted with that secret, Clark. I need you to trust me again. You're endangering people. You have to snap out of this spell before it's too late. And so finally, Batman says, "I have your back, always." And that's when Superman finally snaps out of it and realizes, holy shit, this is Bruce. What am I doing? And he says, "What have I done? Nothing that can't be fixed. All of this can be fixed. Come with us." And so finally, in order for them to get Superman out of this trance and bring them with the Doom Patrol, they get Negative Man to create this kind of chemical imbalance with the electromagnetic spectrum to transform himself into essentially the radiation of a red sun, which causes Superman to faint. A lot of lore here, a lot of really cool references, a lot of superhuman, like fantastical lore. So finally they bring them to the Doom Patrol's lair, to when we're introduced to the Doctor, and Robin looks at Batman and says, "Are you out of your mind?" And that is the end of the issue. So is Superman going to be saved from this weird variant of red kryptonite? Who was the odd stranger that was able to get Metallo and Poison Ivy to draw Superman and Batman out of their homes and into Metropolis? And what is his goal? What is his endgame? How are the Doom Patrol going to be able to play into all of this? Such a great first issue, action-packed, full of great storytelling, great dialogue, beautiful, beautiful art. It's got it all. And it continues to be one of my favorite ongoing series right now. Every month that it comes out, it continues to deliver. There hasn't been an issue yet that I have felt like it's been lackluster. It continues to produce, and it continues to chug along. So like I said, I hope that you guys go check this out from your local comic shop. There are good series out there. There are good comics out there. You just gotta look out there, and you gotta find them every now and then. You gotta kind of keep your eyes peeled. You never know. So that is Batman Superman World's Finest. What did you guys think? Are you guys reading this? And will you read this if you haven't gotten a chance to yet? Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.